Right, let's take you back to stories on the rejection of the gender bills by the National Assembly. Well, joining us for more on this is Adaora Onyechere, gender advocate and lead Gender Strategy Advancement International. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. All right, let's begin with the latest claim by the lawmakers that they voted based on the information and directive from their constituents. Is it a reflection that maybe Nigerians are not ready yet for women in politics?
I think that is a very political way of giving answers to something that is a desperate need, an emergency. I mean, there is no woman in the community that would say they do not want rights for their women for indigenship. There is no woman that would say they would not want the rights to citizenship. Or there is no woman absolutely that would say they wouldn't want to open up the spaces for women in political parties, and not to talk of not having extra seats for women at the parliament. Remember that this bill was well thought out. It was well canvassed. There was negotiations, there was lobbying, there was conversation by the civil society, even at the rural level. In fact, we even had a conference for speakers from across the states coming to also look at this conversation and put their endorsements on it. And Al Benicio, the sponsor of the bill, of the extra seat bill, Right Honorable Onyechere Onyechere, had it co-sponsored by the speaker and 85 other members of the House of Reps. So were they ghost supports? The question is, what happened from Constitution Review committee to the time when we went to the floor where there was supposed to be vote? And let's say by happenstance, you have 4 bills. Are you going to say that the whole 4 bills, absolutely did not meet the measures of looking at the emergency of women's participation across all sectors? Say you didn't even give us, one, or you gave us just one.
Actually claimed that 72 of them voted for.
But then that we knew that at least 2/3, and you're looking at both the House of Representatives and you're looking at the Senate. You had about 58 people who voted against it and only 30 consented, and in the House of Rep you had about 209 and counting. Now the question is, are we really ready to look at a true democracy for us in Nigeria? For us, we're not even begging, we are actually asking the lawmakers to look at something that other African countries have looked at, measures such as quota measures, to look at opening up the space. Nigeria is also a signatory to some of the treaties and charters, like the Human Rights and People's, Protocol. So where do we begin to say that this is an emergency? Because we are also, lead frontliners when it comes to inclusion for women in other countries.
Right. So from what I hear you say, you totally disagree with the spokesperson for the House of Reps who
Absolutely.
says you guys lobbied late. He says, in fact, you cannot lobby for such important bills 2 days before deliberations. But let me ask you, it's day 2 of the protest at the National Assembly. What are the assurances and guarantees that these agitations and advocacy now is not falling on deaf ears? The lawmakers are saying, push, don't give up, but nothing can be done now. That seems to be the message coming from them. Are you getting any responses?
Well, the fact of this conversation is, first, when there is silence to such an issue, it means consent. And for any policy across the world that has to do with, gradual growth process, especially for such as a trying democracy as ours and across African countries, Nigeria is really a patriarchal system. There's so much misogyny. And for us to get out of that bracket, we need to start to raise our voices. I think what we are trying to say is that enough is enough. It will no longer be the normalization of these tendencies. We're saying that we are going to be speaking out of the box. However, we've had some conversations with some members of the House of Rep. I mean, the Deputy Chief Whip came to speak, a minority leader and several other people who came to speak to the women. But the women are saying we need a guarantee that even though we say these are our needs, what is the alternative in the short term? What are your deliberations in the short term? We are going into a 2023 election. Remember that women are majority of the voters, and women are saying that we cannot continue to vote when our votes will only count for the men. So we want to be able to say, we have voices too, and there should be women with capacities. Let there be some negotiations on the table to look at these issues.
Well, we're seeing all of this.
Absolutely.
We'll be monitoring that protest.
You have 2 women here.
Indeed.
Thank you, sister.
We'll keep an eye on that protest. Adaora Onyechere, gender advocate and lead for Gender Strategy Advancement International. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.